The 2021 Canadian federal election is quickly drawing to a close. All the leadership debates are over, and there's one thing that's very clear. The majority of Canadians, including Liberal voters, do not believe Justin Trudeau has earned another term as Prime Minister. So there's lots of questions over what party to vote for and who do you want as leader. Here's 3 things to keep in mind. It's not about the leader. The only number that really matters is 170, and the future of Canada belongs to those who show up. Now, when I say show up, I don't just mean to vote on September 20th. Times have changed. No longer can we, the Canadian people, sit back after an election and hope that the people we've elected do what we want them to do. After the election, people need to stay engaged with their MP, whoever it is. You see, if there's pressure from the leader's office to do what the leader and the political elites, no matter what party it is, if there's pressure coming from that end onto the MPs, then they fall in line with what the leader wants. But if the people who voted show up, who engage with their local member of parliament, that person who asked for the job of representing you to parliament and to the government, then they respond to that pressure and they will speak up on behalf of their constituents because the pressure is coming from you, the Canadian public. So the future of Canada belongs to those who show up on September 20th as well as showing up afterwards. Now, when I say 170, there are 338 members of parliament. So to have a majority, you have to control 170 seats in the House of Commons. In 2015, Justin Trudeau controlled more than 170. He had majority, and for 4 years he got to do what he wanted because the minority cannot stop what he's voting for. In 2015, he lost the majority, but he formed a socialist coalition with the NDP and the Bloc Québécois, and he got to do what he wanted to do. And because the Bloc Québécois and the NDP have no power outside of the coalition, they stood by and did nothing when Justin Trudeau made all the mistakes and all the ethics violations and everything that Canadians did not want him to do. The NDP and the Bloc Québécois did not step up and stop him. So on September 20th, the only answer is for the Conservative Party to hit 170, for the Conservative Party to control the majority in the House, because the Bloc Québécois and the NDP have already said they will not work with the Conservatives. So even if the Conservatives get the most seats, for example, if they get 160 seats, that's not a majority. The Governor General will ask the Conservatives to form the government. But if the Bloc Québécois and the NDP won't work with them, they can't form a government. So the Governor General will ask the next most seats, which would probably be the Liberals, can they form a government? And the Bloc Québécois and the NDP are willing to work in a socialist coalition with Justin Trudeau, and he would be back in power. So nothing else matters except the alternative to Justin Trudeau, the Conservative Party, forms 170 seat majority. Now comes the next part. The leader doesn't matter. See, the leaders and the leader's office, the political elites and the media would want to convince you that it's all about the leader, that this is like presidential politics, but it's not. The power rests with the people and with the MPs. See, in the United States, the voters vote directly for their member of parliament or for their congressperson, who is like the member of parliament, but they also vote directly for the president. So when the president says that he will do this, this, and this, and he wins the majority of the votes, He has a mandate from the voters to do exactly what he said he was going to do. But in Canadian politics, only one riding votes for Justin Trudeau. Only one riding votes for Erin O'Toole. They're just members of Parliament. Each member of Parliament is elected equal. Now they caucus together, and the Conservatives will have a leader. That leader is the Prime Minister. But unlike the United States, where it takes an act of Congress and a hearing in the Senate and all kinds of effort to try and remove the president, in Canada, all it would take, if Erin O'Toole went too far left or stepped out of bounds or didn't do what the grassroots and the MPs believe he should do, then the MPs vote that he's out, a new leader is in, they present him to the Governor General, and that's it. So it really doesn't matter what positions that the leader holds, because he is just one of the MPs that's elevated to the Prime Minister's office. If Canadians show up and have a relationship with the Member of Parliament and put the pressure on the Member of Parliament to act as they wish and not act as the leader wishes. That's how Canada is restored. That's how we have a great Canadian reset, where the people, the voters, show up and take back our power and have the government serve us rather than we serve the government. When Canada first started, a riding is called a riding because it was based on how far a representative could travel by horse, ride in one day. The communication back and forth from Parliament to the people and from the people to the Parliament took weeks. This is a new day. Any vote, anything being decided by the members of Parliament can be transmitted live. We can interact with them instantly. So there should be a lot more input from the people to the Member of Parliament to Parliament. We've got to take back our power, and the only way to do that is to elect at least 170 Conservative members of Parliament. Now, there's a lot of passion out there for other parties, a lot of people wanting to have a voice. They're talking about the People's Party, and they talked about it in the last election. People were telling me, even 3 or 4 days before the election, that 30% of the people in Canada who are apathetic and don't vote are all of a sudden going to show up and vote. That the polls were wrong and the People's Party could form the opposition. But that's not true. They continued to poll at 3%, and the 3% showed up. Now, people ask about vote splitting. Vote splitting is a real thing. In the last election, there were 32 ridings where vote splitting helped the Conservatives. See, vote splitting is defined as the second place party and the third place party are similar in their ideology, and they get more votes than the first place winner. And the Conservatives benefited from 32 of those ridings, where the Liberals and the NDP, for example, had more votes than the Conservative, but they split the votes between them, and the Conservative won. The NDP benefited by 18 in the last election. In the last election, there are 6 specific ridings where the Conservative candidate finished second and the People's Party finished third. And that 3 or 4 or 2% that the People's Party took came directly from the Conservatives, and that benefited the Liberals in 6 ridings. So there's no way that Maxime Bernier is going to form a government. But all he can do is take away from the Conservatives. And I understand that you feel that the Conservative Party has moved away from you, and that the leader is not who you want him to be. Look at it this way. We have to get somewhere on September 20th. It's vitally important to Canada. There's a bus that's ready to take us there. It's loaded with the right people. It's gassed up. It's equipped. It's fully capable of getting us there September 20th and taking us where we want to go after that. Except you're not really sure about the driver. And the GPS is in the hands of his advisors, and you're not 100% sure they're going to take you where you want to go after September 20th. Now over here, you've got another bus. You like the driver, and you're going to hold on to the GPS. But that bus doesn't have wheels, it needs an engine, and it doesn't have a steering wheel. The only way for it to get those parts is to take them off the other bus. You have to take their parts, and you have to get some of their people onto your bus. There's no way we're going to do that by September 20th. That means we're not going to get there on September 20th, and Justin Trudeau will form another government. Now you can get on the first bus, and we can get there September 20th. And then after that, when we decide where we want to go, we can take back the GPS from the advisors if we show up. We can guide that bus and that driver where we want to go. So on September 20th, the future of Canada depends and relies and belongs to those who show up on the 20th and afterwards. If we do show up, the party and the leader will listen to us and to the MPs and go where we want to go. That's the solution. That's the answers for September 20th. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, send me a message, leave them in the comments. Thank you.